So joining us now from New York City, where she is promoting her brand new book out today, is the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem. The book is called Not My First Rodeo, Lessons from the Heartland. We're going to get to that book. I haven't read it, but I've read an extensive outline of it. I know Miss Noem, the governor, a little bit, not a lot, but, I know her background, know what she's accomplished there in South Dakota. So first of all, let's get to this South Dakota Supreme Court situation. Your vision is abortion should be legal in South Dakota to protect the life of a mother. What about rape and incest?
Well, the trigger law that was passed in South Dakota in 2005 really envisioned a day when Roe might be overturned, and said that specifically it would, abolish abortion in the state of South Dakota, except to preserve the life of the mother. Rape and incest were not addressed in the statute at that time, and so that is not law today. And really what this law does is it does not go after mothers. It does not go after women. What it does is prosecute doctors who knowingly violate the law and perform abortions. It would go after them and punish them. So,
all right. Along with Senator John Thune, you are the most powerful politician in South Dakota. Your vision counts among not only South Dakotans, but Americans. You've been actually talked about as a presidential candidate. So your vision is in South Dakota, abortions would be allowed if the life of the mother, a catastrophic health situation, and it would have to be affirmed by doctors, I'm sure, is in question. But rape and incest, what do you, Governor Noem, would you want to have a law that allows abortion in those cases? Would you?
No, I mean, I wouldn't, Bill. I think I'd rather see us walk alongside those mothers in crisis, get them the kind of support, help, mental and physical treatment that they may need after a tragedy like that. I just can't even imagine what they've gone through. But I also have just never been a believer that a tragedy should be perpetuated or followed up by another tragedy. And we know so much more about what happens to these babies in the womb, the development. The science has shown us the pain that they feel. And so in South Dakota, I think that where we stand as far as our law today is somewhere that I'd like to see it remain, but see us much more focused on supporting these women, especially in an unplanned pregnancy or a crisis situation, to where we are helping.
Would that support extend to the state of South Dakota, helping women who don't agree with you if they're raped and or a victim of incest, going to another state to have an abortion? Would South Dakota help with that?
I would not support that. I can't speak for my legislators. I can't speak for others in the state, but that would not be a policy.
So you are a pro-life person. You've held these beliefs for a long time. I can tell the audience that. You're not like Joe Biden, who switches around, whenever the wind blows. You are a confirmed pro-life person. Okay. Now, on the gun front, this is interesting. Some heavy research into this. South Dakota ranks 7th in the lowest amount of homicides in the country. 7th, okay? You have no state law required to possess a shotgun, rifle, or handgun. So anybody in your state can possess that without a law, without the government even knowing about it. It's staying out of it. But if you want to carry, then you have to get a license. Is that correct?
Well, actually, Bill, when I became governor, the very first bill that I signed into law was constitutional carry. So no, they do not have to do that. In fact, this year, because it's a priority for me, I waived all fees for any kind of a permit that they might need in the state of South Dakota. In fact, I said that the state of South Dakota would now be paying for people's federal background checks as well. So it'll cost
So our research is incorrect, because the research here says, it's South Dakota research. If it's incorrect, tell me. No person shall carry a pistol concealed in any vehicle concealed on his or her person without a license to carry, and the license is to be issued by the sheriff of the county involved. That's not the law now?
No, in 2019, the very first bill I signed as governor was constitutional.
Knocked it out. Okay. Yep. I can't blame my staff. It's 19, COVID then came in. It's my fault. I should have checked it. Okay, so you have very liberal gun carry laws, but you don't have any murders to speak of. Very, very few. Where, you go to Chicago, which is not an easy drive, but not a bad drive from South Dakota, and they have very strict gun carry, gun possession laws, and they got unbelievable amount of homicides. Why? What's the difference?
Well, I appreciate the honest conversation, Bill. I think it's refreshing that's really what we need to be talking about is, do more gun laws really lower violence and rates of occurrence in many of these states? And that's just not true. So the conversation that Congress has been having, and by passing this bill, I love the fact that they're focusing on mental health and that people are talking about that and addressing, having more resources. But passing more gun laws and restrictions doesn't necessarily translate to less violence.
But do you know why? I mean, I did Vermont and New Hampshire last night. It's the same situation there. You can carry a gun, you can do whatever you want. They don't have any homicides. But in Chicago, they have all kinds of homicides, and so in New York City as well. Do you know why that's happening?
I think it's because those who perpetuate violence don't care about the law. They're going to get a gun.
So more criminals in Chicago and New York City than in Pierce, South Dakota, or Rapid City. That's what you're telling me, right?
Definitely our people are happier in South Dakota. They're free to work together. They take care of each other, and they have respect for each other. I think that play out.
So let's get on to your book. So you've had a fascinating career, in my opinion. You were the daughter of a rancher, and I guess you're pretty smart in school. You're doing real well, but then your father died. You had to come home and run the ranch, the farm. And then you got into politics, and you served in a House, U.S. House, 211 to 219, then 219 to the president. As you mentioned, you were elected governor of South Dakota. You consider yourself a down-to-earth, middle-class, Midwestern gal. Is that correct?
I think you nailed it. That's exactly right. Grew up on a ranch and never was interested in government and politics. In fact, we never talked politics in our house. I didn't run for office until I was mad. My dad was killed at the age of 49 in an accident. We got hit with death taxes, and I became the general manager of our operation. We were farming thousands of acres, had a big operation, and all of a sudden I owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to the federal government because we had a tragedy. And I decided to start showing up, going to meetings, passionate about tax reform. You remember our U.S. Senator at the time was Tom Daschle, and I started to be a thorn in his flesh and talk about federal policies, and eventually people recruited me to run for office.
Fascinating story. All right, yeah. So the book is titled Not My First Rodeo, Lessons from the Heartland. Give me one of the most important lessons that you write about in the book.
I guess it's the lesson of don't complain about things, fix them. We had a world full of complainers, and then they sit at home and don't ever do anything to make the situation better. We need more doers in this world today. My dad consistently said, Kristi, we don't complain about things, we fix them. That's the only reason I'm in the job that I'm doing today. Is it's really hard to expect a lot out of leaders when I'm not willing to step up and into the fire at the same time. So that's pretty important advice. And Bill, I think we're crippling our children in this country. There's
a lot of whiners. I mean, I got urchins, and they're minoring and whining in college now. It's a very popular minor, by the way. And now I'm going to ask you the toughest question you get all day. Are you ready for it?
I hope so.
Okay. So you served in the House of Representatives for 8 years. You respect Nancy Pelosi?
No. I knew her very well, watched her, she's a powerful woman. I guess I can respect the fact that she uses the tools available, but she follows no rules. She doesn't protect this country. It's very difficult to respect someone that you can't trust.
Okay, Governor, as always, a very straight interview. That's why we like you. You're welcome anytime on this program. The book, once again, Not My First Rodeo, Lessons from the Heartland, out today. I hope you do very well with it. Thank you for helping us out today.
Thank you.
Okay, good.